All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our March meeting of the Riders Advisory Council. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order, and we will start by asking John to please call the roll.
Sure. Chair Stout.
Here.
Vice Chair Siddiqui.
Here.
No. All right. Vice Chair Wei is out of town. Solomon Chen said he couldn't make it. Matthew Clark.
Here.
Eli Cavero Frankel. CM Lucas Sabaski.
Here.
Alex Mendelson.
Here.
Ryan Meyer.
Here.
Pat Sheehan. Thomas Shepard.
Here.
Irene Stevens.
Here.
Handy Tefesi.
Here.
And Brandon Wu.
Here.
All right, Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Wonderful. All right. The next item is item number 2, approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, we will consider the agenda approved. Moving to item 3, we have approval of the minutes from our February 4th meeting.
Those are
Continue.
admittedly not quite done, so you'll have 2 sets to approve next month.
Okay, not
Sorry
a
about
problem.
that, guys.
No good, all good. So saying that, we'll move to item number 4, public comment. Do we have any members of the public with us this evening that would like to share their thoughts with the RAC?
There aren't any non-members on the call right now.
Okay. Oh, sweet. Did we get anything in writing? Suspect not. Okay. All right. So we're going to go straight to our annual report committee update. Now that we've reached March, I think the collection phase has ended, and I think it's time to move to analysis. So I'll toss it over to Thomas to kind of give us an update on where we are, and then we'll chat together about the best strategy to pull this report together and get a draft together for our April meeting.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Cole. I think we've just gotten like the last 2 responses in to the feedback form. I've already started doing some of the analysis. There's like a doc in the drive that I shared with everyone that sort of has. I basically came up with like a bunch of different categories for rider concerns, and then counted how many times each concern was mentioned. And, I put some notes at the bottom. As of now, it seems like, frequency and reliability are the 2 biggest concerns, which is not totally surprising. And some other big ones are a lot of people aren't super happy about the National Guard and, federal agency presence in the metro system. So we've got a lot of comments about that. And then, we have safety and cleanliness. That were some other big ones. But yeah, I think I've gotten about halfway through. I think we've got a total of 300 responses to the form. I've gone through about 100 or so, or maybe a little more, I guess. So thank you to everyone for sharing this form out with their networks. We did a very good job. But yeah, if anyone wants to help out with looking over the responses, just let me know. And this is also what I've been doing has only been for the top 3 areas of improvement question. So I still need to go through like the suggested changes, and I think that was the other main question. But thank you for all your help, and I'm excited to see where this goes.
All right. Thank you, Thomas. I think for the kind of first question I have for the group is there anyone who might have some time in the next week or so to help do some of that coding, to go through the responses and mark those, mark off how many times things are being mentioned, or to help us pull themes so that we can really understand the feedback form responses and get those coded appropriately so we can start looking at drafting some actual language for the report.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely help out. I mean, if Thomas has got the a method he wants me to follow, I mean, just we can chat over email and we can start going through it however you want. But I can definitely help you out.
Same here.
Awesome. I can probably help a little bit too. I'm on work travel here for like 4 or 5 days over the weekend, going into the weekend and over the weekend, but I might have some downtime. I can get into there and assist as well. Um, in terms of drafting, we haven't, I can really help draft. That's where I think my background's in communication. So being able to take what the analysis looks like and what the coding is to help us put together some drafting, and I think is where my skill set is really inclined for. So I will go ahead and be the first volunteer for that part to help Thomas. Anyone else that feels like they would be good at helping to draft some sections?
I might be able to help out with that a bit, especially because I'm kind of busy the next 2 weeks, but after that I should start to free up a little more. So whether it's drafting or just any other thing that we need done for this in the next like 2 to 6 weeks, just let me know.
Thank you, Alex.
I'd also be happy to help draft.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon. Okay, so I think we've kind of got a little small team of folks to do some of the analysis and coding, and then a small team to do some of the drafting. So I don't know, Thomas, if you think maybe over the next 2 weeks, we get all the coding and analysis kind of done, and then the following 2 weeks, me and Alex and Brandon and you can focus on getting a draft together. I'd like to give everyone, have a draft to everyone about 5 days before our April meeting, so that everyone has time to read through it and think about it. And we can come to the April meeting ready to suggest any changes, because typically the timeline for this, we have a really strong draft coming into the April meeting, and then the RAC will kind of make some suggestions for changes and edits and approve it with those edits, the assumption that those edits will be made. So that way it can be presented to the board of directors at their April board meeting. And that's kind of our timeline here for the next, I think we're 7 weeks out from the April board meeting. And so that's what that process looks like over the next few weeks. Does that sound like an okay process to you, Thomas?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, thank you for everyone who offered to help. I appreciate it. Yeah, in terms of like the analysis part, I think I can get I could finish up the analyzing the first question, like top right of concerns. I could do that probably mostly on my own. But yeah, after that, I would appreciate help with the with the other parts. So yeah, it sounds like a good plan. Thank you, everyone.
Great. So I saw it was Lucas, and who else was be able to help with some of the analysis and coding?
That was me.
Brandon.
Okay, sweet. And I'll try to, maybe we can get on an email chain later this week just to make sure we Thomas, you can kind of share your process with us and how we can help there and make sure we're following the same kind of format you are, so it all makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Great. Are there any other kind of questions, thoughts, ideas surrounding the annual report before we move on. Okay. So we'll move on to kind of our new business announcements. And since we have a really light agenda, I think now's a good time for if anyone has like a kind of a member report out or things you've seen on the system, things you're hearing around the system, things that you want us to talk about over the next few months that we can start lining up with staff. Now's a great time to kind of bring those up. Yeah, we'll come back to you here in a second, Cal. I just saw your thing in the chat. I did hear from someone today who wanted me to share back to Metro that they really appreciative that they finished the escalator replacement at Navy Yard a month early. They're looking forward to not having to walk nearly as far to get to their Green Line train, which I think has been a great pattern that we've seen Metro be doing with this escalator replacement program, is they often finish ahead of time and under budget. So great use of resources and ensuring that we're keeping more money in the system. Yeah, Brandon.
Yeah, I had two quick things. The first is I think that I know a few folks who've been affected somewhat by some of the morning commute track issues that sort of emerged either on Blue Silver Orange or on Red. I like had to deal with the yellow line personally, I think going down yesterday, or sorry, turning around at Mount Vernon Square, which like would cut my southbound headways from the Shaw Metro station or increase my head. Instead of having both yellow and green options, I only had green. It was fine. But I think that there's some folks who like are sort of hearing from Metro, like they'll open the Metro Rail alerts or they'll see Metro alerts about, these specific issues, but like are a little confused as to like why that's happening now, whether that's being the cold weather or like other routine maintenance that was sort of deferred or things like that. So that's something I have been hearing in some of my circles. The other thing is platform overruns. I think there have been a few folks that I've noticed have come to me and mentioned that, they were on a train that overran the station and like confused as to like if ATO does that often, what the numbers sort of look like on that front, and also like what Metro has. I don't have a very strong understanding of what the WSMC, Washington Safety Metro Rail Commission, yeah, what their like report and what their asks of Metro have been. But I think some folks have mentioned that to me and said, like, oh, like what steps are being done sort of to make sure that like ATO operation has been, or rail operation in general has been meeting like the benchmarks and the safety standards that WSMC has been setting. I know they're independent from WMATA, so like I don't know if that's someone that we could, for instance, like ask to sort of come in and brief us on like what their independent whatever reports have been, but something else that has sort of come up recently.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon. John, do you want to just provide a quick overview of the WMSC and how it works with Metro? Because I think it is a little bit confusing for some folks.
Sure. So, and I can follow up with a little bit more specific information because it's not my area of expertise, but the WMSC is what's called a state safety oversight body. Every rail operation that is overseen by the Federal Transit Administration is supposed to have one. Obviously, the WMSC, most are done at the state level because most rail systems don't cross state lines, and we, of course, are an anomaly. And it was. Excuse me, I'm trying to remember when it was created. I want to say it was like 2017 or 2018. And again, they are they're an oversight body, so they're not part of Metro. They oversee the safety of our operations. They issue recommendations and corrective action plans, and excuse me, findings and recommendations and corrective action plans for us to fix issues that they have identified. They're obviously they're not focused on Metrobus, they're not focused on Metro Access. They're specifically focused on Metro Rail because that's what their charter says. And they've they've worked with us on ATO implementation, and then they're also really focused on roadway worker protection, so the protection of our employees who are out on the tracks doing work and making sure that they don't get injured or worse by folks not following safety protocols. And I can drop a link to the commission in the chat.
Thank you, John, for
Sure.
that. Maybe it's worthwhile to think about getting it's part of our next, when we come talk about performance and on time, and like the customer feedback, to get a short update on ATO and the performance. I know when it first rolled out on the Red Line, we were really focused on that platform, station overruns. So it might be worthwhile to do a check-in and see what are the numbers holding steady or getting better, or is there something else happening?
John and Cole.
Yeah.
Real quick, I think the board was presented on that not too long ago, so I can look for the recording of that meeting, and then once I find it, I can just share it with the RAC and give you a minute or to start watching. But that was presented to the board. If it wasn't earlier this year, it was late last year, and it addressed that specifically. So I can look for that if you're interested.
Yeah, it'd be great. Thank you. All right. Anyone else have other things to talk about? And then we'll come to Cal here in a few minutes. Alex.
Yeah, I think it would be great to hear from, I'm not exactly sure if Metro is responsible for this, but whoever's responsible for integrating like real-time information into apps in terms of how we do that, like bus real time and Metro Rail real time in terms of how we do the real time updates to help the customer experience in terms of like bus detours, canceled trips, any sort of disruptions, in terms of seeing if we can improve that. I think that'd be great to hear about, because it's definitely something I hear a lot of feedback on from friends, family, and other Metro riders.
Okay.
Does that kind of make sense?
I think so. I'd have to excuse me. I would have to sort of hunt down the right person here, but I get what you're saying, and I think and it may be an interdepartmental thing. So it may be somebody from our IT department in coordination with somebody, Brian Anderson, who came to was it the January meeting, the last in-person meeting we had. I know that's part of his portfolio as well. So I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but that's something I can hunt down.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alex and John. Did I see one more hand or not? All right. Cal, what were the two things that you had that you missed during the public comment section?
Well, it's actually turned to three things. The first one is we have a strange situation. I found a quirk in the alert system. If you have a driver that misses his shift or his or her shift, or the bus is broken down, the advisories usually say expect delays. But if you only, in a situation where this is the case of the line C83 up in Barnaby Woods, on the weekends, there's only one bus running the whole day. And if that bus is not available, the alert still says expect delays, but the bus never comes, or the bus doesn't come for part or all of that shift. So it's a kind of strange quirk. I don't know if there's any other lines that actually have just one bus running like that, but that's, people keep saying expect delays, and then they wait an hour and a half and the bus never comes. And the map doesn't show any buses, like the bus ATA map, because there are no buses actually running on that line. So I just wanted to mention that. The second thing is, this is a time of year when you have new members, and I haven't heard anything about that. I just resubmitted a revised application for membership. So what's going on with that? That's a question more than a comment.
So I can field that. So the board makes appointments. Everybody's terms expire in December. Last year was a bit of an anomaly because I forget if it was January or February, the board expanded the RAC from 11 to 15 members. And so it took a little bit of time between the end of January. So February and March were spent sort of beating the bushes and trying to get applications in and then reviewing those and presenting candidates to the board. So as of right now, with the exception of one vacant seat in the state of Maryland, there aren't currently any. That's the only vacancy we have right now on the RAC, unless somebody steps down.
So there wasn't. Okay. So there wasn't. Everybody who was on in December is staying on in, say, in the district.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that application went up a couple days ago. I needed to get it verified that it was properly received, because you remember last year I had all kinds of problems. I got a new computer, but I want to make sure that it was received with all the fields filled in. So if somebody can do that, that would be great.
Sure. I looked before this meeting and I didn't see it, but we can take this offline.
Okay, great. So I guess I have to wait. So it's December. It's not like February, the way you're saying.
Correct. So
Okay.
again, last year was because we had those 4 new seats.
Yep, I remember.
It took a couple months from when the board approved that in January. Usually appointments are in December, and everyone's term, all of the members currently serving, even the ones that started in March, of last year, their terms run through December. Either it was December 25 or 6, and now is December 26 or 7.
Got it. Okay. All right. The last thing is, so next month's meeting is in person, I assume?
Yes, on
And-
April 1st, no fooling.
It will be April 1st. Okay. All right, great. I'm glad it's April 1st and not April 8th.
Yes.
Yes.
First Wednesday of the month.
Right, but there was this Passover, and you guys adjusted something in the fall once for the high holidays.
Yes. Right, you
But-
are.
But that's not happening for this one, right? Hopefully.
So I will defer to the group if there is anyone on that celebrates Passover. My quick Google search right now says that Passover begins on April 2nd. So as long as it's not the evening before, as long as it's not the evening of April 1st, I think we're good.
You mean the start of the Passover? You don't mean the meeting
Right.
date? Okay, right. Well, if it's the first, that's better, because I'm doing
So-
we're hosting candidate forums the following week. Okay, that's it for me.
Okay. Thanks, Cal.
Thank you, Cal. We'll go to Irene next.
Sorry, I'm trying to take my hand down. Let me do one thing at a time on the iPhone. Something that an idea came up. I was coming from a transit related candidate forum for mayor and for at large seats. And on the bus, I whipped out the phone and started telling, some riders about our survey. And one of the passengers wanted to know like what's done with the survey. And so since I was really new last year, how were the results shared, I guess, with the public? Because we have this amazing media team for Metro. And so I'm just wondering if we did something last year and just it was chaotic and I missed it, or is that something that we should consider, like even maybe, I don't know, like a infographic or something to share?
Yeah, so we use those responses to create the annual report. So we were talking about earlier in the meeting is why we need people to analyze those responses is so that we can identify what riders are saying are some of their biggest concerns of the system, some of their proposed solutions, the good things they're seeing throughout the system. So we make that into our annual report. So if you take a look at last year's annual report, we also provide a full readout of the survey responses. I believe we include that at the end. And so
Oh,
that's where all of that goes. And that's presented to the board
I,
in their April meeting.
sure. I apologize if my comment or question wasn't clear. Is there some way that we can share that like publicly, like an infographic or some type of social media, like a quick note to maybe get people to draw them to read the annual report? Because I remember reading the report, but it was more
Hmm.
about how we promote to the public as opposed to just the board.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, my first kind of thought is that hasn't really been something we've done in the past because the report is, it's our bylaws say we have to create a report for the board. And I think the board kind of chooses what to do with it. Generally, I've seen there's usually one or two media stories that go out once we present the report, since we do it at the board meeting and there's press there. There's usually some pickup, especially if there's something new or controversial. Generally, that gets picked up. But we haven't created something that goes back. Um, it's something we can consider sharing the report back out to the people that we sent the form out to. We could consider sending the report out to those groups or individuals whose email addresses we have that we send the form to. Definitely something to think about over the next month or so. Brandon.
Yeah, I would totally echo the follow through on the folks we sent the form out to. Like, I think it's a great way for people to realize, like, oh yeah, I filled that out 3 months ago. Great to actually see like a final product. So I think that's like a very good tool. Something I did want to flag too is I sent the RAC form to Greater Washington, which is like the urbanisty, transity, DC area. What's it called?
Blog.
Like news blog. Yeah, exactly. And something they had mentioned is they would love if like the RAC wanted to potentially submit an op-ed to Greater Washington, either as the RAC or probably maybe more likely as individual members expressing our own opinions, sort of like summarizing the big picture ideas, the big sort of conclusions we've drawn. Obviously making very clear we're not WMATA, this is not scientific. However, like these are like the big picture idea. Like if people don't have time, to be reading 50 plus pages, like, or even the executive summary, like taking those ideas and sort of distilling them. Because I know that GG Wash is read by quite a few amount of folks. Obviously, I don't know if on the WMATA, on the Metro side, John, if that's like something we could do, or like how careful we'd have to be about whether, for instance, we can say the Writers Advisory Council is drafting the op-ed, or if it's like individuals on the RAC who are, yeah.
I mean, I think it's fine. I'm sorry if I cut you off. No, I think it's fine. I think you guys have a pretty wide latitude to report out your findings.
Okay, cool.
And that may be a good way to sort of re-engage with that group. I know that we've had, in fact, their founder many, many years ago was on the RAC. So you know, I think the RAC has been kind of quietly ticking along. So this, you know, it could be a chance for exposure as well.
Great. I'm happy to sort of take point on coordinating with them on what the op-ed writing process looks like. But after we finish the report, happy to also have help in drafting that if folks would be interested.
I think that's a really good idea, Brandon. And if we can time it with us presenting the board, presenting the report to the board, if we can time it that same day or maybe a few days after, it might be a great way to gin up some more attention to what the RAC has been up to and what riders are thinking. If we could do it the same day, that'd be awesome. Just to make sure we're all targeting everything at the same time usually helps. Okay. Anything else from folks before we wrap up? All right. As it's just kind of a, yeah, Jose?
Yeah, so it was announced at our last board meeting that Metro is planning its 50th anniversary. There will be community-wide celebrations. Well, not community-wide, there will be a few celebrations throughout the community on Friday, the 27th.
27th of March.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that, and there'll be a special appearance by DJ Transit at Metro Center.
Awesome. Thank you, Jose.
You're welcome.
And I said this at the top before we get started, but just a reminder, we are in person next month, and I do expect we will use at least the full 2 hours, if not run over a little bit. We're going to have a few staff presentations. We will go through the annual report, and we will elect the chair and vice chairs for the next year. If you are thinking about running for any of those positions, please reach out to me, William, to talk about what that looks like and answer any questions. If I don't hear from anyone, I might start reaching out to you and doing some asks. So if you're thinking about doing it at all, please shoot me a note just so I have a good picture of where we're going in and nobody kind of shows up and is voluntold in the moment. That'd be really awesome. So
I think you gotta show the baby. There. Oh. Door.
Say hi. This is Penelope. Say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
You can wave.
Hi, Penelope.
Hey, Penelope.
Say hi. She was banging on the door and insisted she needed something, so here she is.
Great.
Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Good night.
All right. With that, if there is no further business, I will go ahead and consider this meeting adjourned. Thanks y'all for your time and for jumping on tonight. And we'll see you all in person on April 1st.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.